Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. We did it. We made it through another week. It's good to be streaming again. As some of you know, I did get a bogus strike on my primary YouTube channel. Did you guys know that YouTube completely supports the alt-right? It's true. It's true. The bogus strike that I got on my primary YouTube channel was because I did a stream telling Democrats who left the Democratic Party, former lefties, don't get sucked into the alt-right. The alt-right is really bad. Here's how you identify the alt-right. And the other day, YouTube decided to go to strike, and I appealed it. And YouTube was like, yep, we really don't think this content belongs on our platform. So I can't stream on my primary channel up until I think next Thursday or something, but we still have Actively Unwoke. We still have my second channel. And you know, this is actually interesting timing because in addition to doing happy hour, I was actually going to be reviving my unwoke content on this channel anyway. So everything happens for a reason. The universe works in beautiful ways. But guys, welcome to Happy Hour. Happy Hour is a stream I do on Fridays on this channel, also on Odyssey and Rockfin and Rumble. Under my main channels on those because I don't need separate channels on all the different platforms. And what we do on this channel is we watch a woke training from start to finish. We watch the whole thing. We watch the boring bits, we watch the annoying bits, we watch the totally cringe bits, and we talk about the training and what the woke are actually teaching. Because what we've discovered in the 2 years that I've been doing happy hour is that when you watch the full training, rather than just the clips that people put on Twitter, rather than just the headlines that end up on Fox News, when you actually watch the full and complete training from start to finish, it's even effing crazier than what they tell you. And the crazy comes in subtle ways. It doesn't come in overt ways that make a big headline. It comes in the more subtle ways. But I feel completely convinced that people who watch Happy Hour have a much better grasp of what is going on in the woke universe than anyone that I don't care if you follow James Lindsay on Twitter. I don't care if you keep up with the post millennial. They're not telling you the full story because we know the full story because we're watching how they actually implement these trainings and these courses in the real world. And no one will convince me otherwise. The people that watch Happy Hour have the most nuanced take on the woke ideology and critical race theory that I've seen anywhere else. So let's see what we have on the docket for today. We are going to be watching a training that was not too long ago done for the faculty at Tulane University. Welcome to the 2022 Anti-Racism, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Teach-In for faculty and staff. This webinar is part of the Tulane University's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion's 2022 Teach-In for faculty and staff, Everyday Racism Leadership Practices at Tulane, engaging in individual, collective, and racial equity work. You know, part of the reason I picked out this training is I'm fairly sure that Tulane is where Andrew Breitbart went to school. And so I thought that was a little bit ironic. In this session, the Chief Operating Officer, Patrick, panelists describe specific leadership strategies and interventions that Tulane faculty and staff can use to reduce the harm of systemic intergenerational racism within higher education and locally at Tulane and in the Gulf region. Panelists explore myths about what it means to be a good racial ally and share personal and professional examples of embedding anti-racism practices into their everyday leadership. This could be a really good bingo day. If you've never been to happy hour before, I definitely recommend. Oh, that's not it. That's it right there. Download your Unwoke bingo card. I'll pop that in the chat. I'll pop it in the chat on all the different platforms that we're on right now. Hang on. Where's my chat on Odyssey? There it is. There you go for Odyssey. For Rockfin, popping into the chat for you guys. And of course on Rumble. I don't even know if anyone actually watches me on Rumble. If you're actually watching me on Rumble right now, please chat in something so I actually know that it's worth being on this platform. But what we do is we play Unwoke Bingo. Every bingo card is unique. Generate your bingo card. And then we get our free square in the middle. And then we're going for lines or we're going for corners. If you get lines or corners, just shout out bingo in the chat. We will all give you a rousing round of applause and congratulations, but you won't win anything. It's just for bragging rights. Once we get a line or corners bingo, then we go for blackout bingo. And because this is an anti-racism training and the Unwoke bingo card is geared more towards the critical race theory stuff, this could be a really good day. Could be a banner day if you want to try your luck at that. Now, I've got a few announcements before we get started. And of course, you guys can help me pick out the beer that I'm going to drink. Number one, if you haven't yet bought your copy of Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life, now's a really good time to do it because Amazon is having a huge sale on hardcover books. It ain't just my book. There are other books you can get too. You can get Woke Inc. is on sale. You can get Glenn Beck's Great Reset on sale. Lots of good titles to choose from. So it's a perfect time if you were like $27, it's just way too much. Guess what? You can get it for like 15 right now. How great is that? That's for the hardcover version. You can also get the Kindle version. And of course, you can also get the Audible version. If you have an Audible credit, head over to Audible. I did read the audio version. Well, the latest and greatest audio version. The previous audio version will never be heard from again and has been burned and will never. It's basically a collector's item. If you got the original audio version, it's a collector's item. The new one is with me reading it. It's way better. I promise. But this is a highly practical, actionable guide to help you fight back against woke insanity. And I think it's pretty good, and I hope you pick it up. Another thing I want to let you know is that if you want to support the work I'm doing, the best way to do that is by becoming a member of my locals community. You can become a member for $5 a month, or if you want to try it out, just put the promo code July in that little promo box, and that's going to give you a free month if you want to check it out. That is only available in the month of July because it's summer. Sometimes it's nice to do a little deal or a promo in the summer, so that's how you can get a free month. But if you're sure that you really like my work and you come to these happy hours all the time and you're like, Karlyn suffers through this for me, you can sign up as an annual member in my locals for $50 a year, which does give you 2 months for free. And this weekend, this is the last chance to get it before I'm doing the book plates this weekend. So I told everyone that wanted a customized autographed book plate from me for their Actively Unwoke book. What you need to do is become an annual member in my locals. And then you need to email me your locals handle, your mailing address, and your customization request. What I'm doing this weekend is finally, and I apologize it's taken so long, guys, I'm making a whole bunch of these book plates, and I'm going to be sending them out all over the place to people who are annual members in my locals. And what you can do is slide this here book plate right inside your hardcover copy of Actively Unwoke. It'll be autographed just for you, made out to you with your name and a personalized message from me. And the only way to get that is by becoming an annual member in my locals. If you are currently a monthly member, you can upgrade to being an annual member. And then this post is actually pinned right to the top of my locals community. And so it tells you exactly what you need to do once you become an annual member to get your free customized autograph book plate from me. And I'll be making those out and sending them out this weekend. Yeah, Jan was like, I was like, why haven't I got mine yet? Because I haven't done them yet, Jan. I suck at time management sometimes. I apologize, but I am committed to sending them out this weekend. And so you guys can look forward to that. And I apologize it's taken a little bit of time for some of you. I can't believe how much time has flown by in the past couple of months. It's just been insanity, but they will be coming your way this weekend. I also want to let you know, last announcement before we pick out a beer, I did just start just yesterday the @Actively Unwoke account on Twitter. The handle is aptly Actively Unwoke. And I'm going to pop that in the chat. And let's see, I would really like, I just basically launched this account yesterday. I had the handle for a while, never did anything with it. But in the last day, we've had almost 1,000 followers. We need 43 more followers to hit 1,000 followers on this Twitter account. I hope all of you will make sure you're following this. This account is going to be solely dedicated to talking about how to fight back against the woke in a highly actionable way. Things you can actually do, things that are practical in the real world to understand the woke ideology and also to fight back against it. And a lot of the things I'm going to be tweeting about and a lot of the things that I wrote about in the book are all based around these trainings that we do on Happy Hour because this is the real deal. This is how they show up in the real world. So make sure you follow that account. I'm really thrilled that it has almost 1,000 followers. Honestly, I didn't launch this account for a really long time because I was kind of like, would anyone even really be interested in it? But it seems people are. And so make sure you follow that account. We hopefully can hit 1,000 followers today. Murphy's Pool says, I like big butts and I cannot lie. Guys, if you're feeling generous for super chats, I just want to let you know, and I'm just going to grift here for a second. YouTube basically stole a week of my income. And so if you value the work I do, super chats do support this channel and they support the work I'm doing and they support my main channel too, because whether it's on this channel or it's on my primary channel. All the super chats go to the same place. So if you're feeling generous today, would be a great day to send in some super chats or to sign up for locals, whatever's clever. You can also make a one-time gift on locals too. So that would be awesome. And of course, I really, really, really appreciate it. All right. Before we get started, as you know, I need to pick out a beer now. Because of Patrice, this is Patrice's fault. We do start a poll where I get to ask you guys which beer I should drink first. I'm going to tell you I have 4 options because that's just there are 4 beers on a ring, and so you get to pick out 4. And we're going to see which one we like. Incognito says your haters hate your new account. F them. Oh, do they ever? And this really tells you who the Twitter horde really is, doesn't it? Because why would you be attacking an account that is solely dedicated to helping normal people fight back against the woke? Why would you be planning to mob and sabotage that account? This isn't my personal account. This is an account to help other people. And yet, the Twitter horde are actively working their very, very best to try to destroy this account, but they will fail, as they always and completely do. Murphy's Pool says, Peroni, no, you can drink your Italian water beer all you want, Murphy's Pool. I'm not drinking your Italian water beer. We have some sours today because it's a really hot day. And so I'm enjoying these sours, guys. I have to say, I was anti-sour at the beginning of the summer, and now I'm coming back around to being pro sour because they're fruity and delicious. And I want to show you guys which sours I have for today. And of course, please feel free to chat in what you're drinking as well. James Jones, thank you for the super chat. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a super chat. Thank you for that, James Jones. All right, let's see what we have. The first one is called Blue Sippin' Serendipity. And it's got a creepy girl that kind of looks like one of my Twitter haters on the can. But we're not going to hold that against the beer. It's not the beer's fault that a psychotic woman follows me on Twitter and stalks my every move. This is a sour ale with blueberry, apricot, Meyer lemon, sea salt, and vanilla. So that's option number 1 for the beer, which is blueberry sour with lemon. And that's going to be our option number 1. Let's see what's next. This is Caraberry with a creepy dude on the cover that looks kind of like PSA Sitch, and this is with Cara Orange and Strawberry. So orange and strawberry in the same beer. I think that's actually going to be pretty great. Hang on. I got to organize my desk. There's not enough place to put the beer. So orange and strawberry is our next option. All right, hang on. Next up, we have Slurpee, which is a slushy sour ale, a blue raspberry, which sounds kind of nice. It's kind of like the slushy machines that, you got at the store when you were a kid, or my school had a slushy machine. It was the best thing ever. So blue raspberry Slurpee. And our last option for today is, I had to get this one because of the can. I had to. It's called Sweet Fat Orange Cat. I just liked the can. I thought it was creative. And this is a sour ale with mango, passion fruit, pineapple, peach, and marshmallow. So lots of nice fruity beers. We're going to call this the Orange Cat Beer. All right. You guys let me know which one you want me to start drinking first. The poll is in the chat. I will look forward to receiving your answers. In the meantime, Sin says, it is a water today. I'm giving you my game money. Thank you, Sin. I really appreciate that. I hope it's not too hot out there. Yeah, you actually have a sweet orange cat. In real life. In real life. Deborah is drinking some gin with bitters and soda. Myriad is drinking seltzer. Seltzer's not boring. Seltzer's pretty great, actually. Sin's thinking the Caraberry. I don't want to influence the chat, but what you guys are voting on which beer I should start with. Let me get this set up. And please make sure you guys mount that like button for me. There we go. John Morgan is drinking some sweet tea. Well, you have to, John. You're in the South. You're like obligated. All right, we're gonna end the voting here in about 30 seconds. I'm just gonna fix something on my screen that has decided to screw up while we were doing that. Now I'm gonna flicker for a second, but I'm gonna come right back. All right, and now we're gonna flicker one more time. All right, we're back, and the problem is fixed. Sometimes my computer likes to put my menu on my other screen, and I don't like that, and I can't get it back unless I futz with the display a little bit. All right, let's see. Last chance for poll. 10, 9, 8. Oh, it's close too, guys. Register those votes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 3.5, 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1. Wah. It is the Orange Cat beer as the winner. But that was really close. That was really close. It was very evenly distributed. So there was not a clear winner. Oh, wait, it changed. Holy shit. Hang on. Yeah, blueberry sour with lemon caught up. So blueberry sour and orange cat beer tied. Well, orange cat beer was ahead the last time I saw. So we're going to go with orange cat beer, but then we'll drink blueberry sour with lemon after that. So we've got a whole little setup. All right. Let me just pour my orange cat beer. Ooh, look how orange that is. This was the first beer that I picked up at the beer store today, so I feel like this is an appropriate choice. It looks kind of like a mimosa. Okay, maybe a little dark for a mimosa. Let's see. And again, this is what the heck is this? Mango, passion fruit, pineapple, peach, and marshmallow. Oh, that definitely smells mango-y. I'll tell you what. All right, we've got Hellbound is having a cake, vodka, and Jaeger. I have not had flavored vodka in a really, really long time, but cake vodka is a good one. I was always partial to whipped cream vodka myself because whipped cream vodka, you can mix it with pretty much anything, and it tastes delicious. Phil is having a rum and coke. That sounds really good too. All right, guys, mount that like button if you're ready to get the party started for today. Let's attend our anti-racism, equity, diversity, and inclusion teach-in. No, we're not playing music. No. You're not getting me demonetized, Tulane. No. No. They're being fancy. Okay. Oh.
Thank you. All right, everyone.
There we go.
Welcome back. Let me get my video off mute. And it is, wow, I do agree with the comments in the chat box. Roxanne, it has been an outstanding day.
Very mango.
And we were just thanking Denise
very,
and Jasmine,
very
our
mango.
ASL providers, Travis Detillier, our IT support, Tiffany Gaines, just amazing people who have really helped today come to fruition. You know, it's interesting. You do 8 months of planning and then you feel like it whizzes.
Well, Murphy's Pool is already being a smartass. Hitler drinks orange flavored beer in hell. I disagree, Murphy's Pool. I disagree. I was actually today, fun fact, I was actually talking to a medium today that lives not that far away down the road from me, and she doesn't think there's a hell either, so nah. And she's a medium, so she would know.
By, but you realize how much you've changed in the process and how good it feels to sit back and actually be in learning space. So thank you everyone for being here with us today. This is our final panel of the day, and we are very excited about the folks who are co-moderating, and also all of, you know, we've been building towards this moment. You know, we've heard so many suggestions about what everyday anti-racism practice and leadership can look like, right? But what is it going to feel like when you're not in this community, in this Zoom community, and you see that thing happening, you notice that thing happening, you feel that collective longing that we talked about this morning in New Orleans and Bolbancha, to really be a part of racial freedom and racial equity and racial
Do you all
liberation.
feel that collective
So,
longing?
I think
I know after
that
2 years of
longing,
this
bring
shit,
that longing to
2.5
today's
years.
panel. I think as we
I know
listen
I'm
today, I
not
think we're
feeling
gonna
any
have a lot of
collective longing at
questions.
all.
And first up, I want to introduce Patrick Norton, who is our Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Tulane University. In this role, Patrick Norton is responsible for all the operational aspects of the university, including finance, facilities management, capital planning, real estate, human resources, information technology. Yes, I'm continuing to keep going. Business services. It's so important to say these units when you realize who's doing this work. Human resources, capital planning and real estate, information technology, risk management, internal audit, emergency preparedness, business continuity, campus police. All these units are under Patrick's leadership. And the thing that I've noted is that in his bio, it talks about he is very dedicated to creating an environment fueled by innovation, discovery, and discipline, while making sure we're financially and operationally stable. But I think what I get to learn with and from Patrick when we meet regularly is just how deep his commitment is in terms of making sure there are real dollars invested in anti-racism work, that it kind of moves from being something we might think we could do or should do into something that actually we're doing with big investments and some long-term planning. So thank you, Patrick, for being with us here today.
Thank you, Annalise, and good to be here, and thanks for those kind words. And when you go through the list of my portfolio,
Of course,
I'm glad it's Friday,
white man,
right?
white man teaching anti-racism, of course.
It's a deep portfolio, but very rewarding, and really enjoyed the work that I do here. So to you all out there, it sounds like you had a long
White
day.
men ruin everything.
Thank you for joining us today and for your attention to all of the panels and session at today's anti-racism EDI teach-in. I know that encouraging you to step away from your work to participate in today's event was a big ask, and I appreciate the commitment you have demonstrated by showing up. Rather than taking time away from our work today, I want you all to think of this as taking time to engage with the
I don't
real
know.
work
He kind of
of
gives
the
gay
university
vibes
as
to
we
me, to be
strive towards
honest.
a more equitable,
Definitely
diverse,
cis, but
and
I think
just
he gives gay
workplace
vibes to
and
me.
community. I am heartened by the number of employees and faculty who have registered for today's programming, and I am so appreciative of the Tulaneans who have hosted sessions and served on panels today. This event has been an incredible opportunity for me and your other
Yeah, let me make sure
administrators
closed
to
captions are
learn
on for
both
people.
alongside and from
Oh, they're
our
unavailable.
employees.
Oh, I'm sorry to anyone that
As
needs
you know,
closed
working groups
captions.
and
They're
committees
unavailable.
across the
Hang on.
university are actively.
Ironically, I try to turn on closed captions because some people on the channel need them. They're not available on this video. So Tulane University is being ableist. Now, they do have the sign language interpreter, which is fine, I guess, but not everyone does sign language. Although I do enjoy a good sign language interpreter. Does anyone else enjoy like the show that sign language interpreters put on? But there's no closed captions. Tulane University is ableist, confirmed.
Designing plans to create a more equitable and just space for all faculty, staff, students, and community members who live and work here. These plans will comprise the university's comprehensive strategy for tomorrow, with the goal of creating an overarching strategic plan to guide this work moving forward. Within the vision of the Chief Operating Officer, we are working to assess the need for and implement changes across the many businesses that report up through me. Our purchasing department, for example, is currently implementing policies to increase diversity among university suppliers and business partners, as well as strengthen relations.
Murphy's Pool says, you lost a week's income. What did I miss? How did that happen? It's because I got a YouTube strike. And when you get a YouTube strike, you can't stream for a week. And really, the money that I make on YouTube comes almost entirely from streaming and super chats. Even when I'm streaming, even like with videos I post, like, basically I can't post or stream for a week, which means I've lost all the income on videos that I could have posted. But the vast majority of my income on YouTube comes from super chats. It used to come from ads. It doesn't anymore. anymore. And so a week not being able to stream or even post videos is actually pretty costly. But I appreciate you guys who are sending super chats in. I don't want to pressure anyone. I don't want anyone to give like money that they don't have. But anytime I get a YouTube strike, that really sucks. Why did I get a strike? Because they said that a stream I did telling people who are leaving the left not to join the alt-right violated their terms of service. So they took the stream off and gave me a strike, and I appealed it, and they said, yep, it violates our terms of service to tell people to don't join the alt-right. That's not a joke. That's what I got the strike for. I posted if people don't believe me, I posted the email on Twitter, so you can go and see the email they sent me. It literally says it was for the stream. Like, if you're leaving the left, don't join the alt-right.
Relationships and provide financial support to businesses owned by people who have historically had limited access. In August of this year, the largest Black-owned bank in the United States, Liberty Bank, will have a visible physical presence on our Uptown campus and will be located in the LBC. As a local community bank, Liberty will be uniquely positioned to provide banking and financial services to the Tulane community. Our teams are carefully assessing and updating processes around recruitment, hiring, training, and retention to ensure that all of our employees are afforded equitable opportunity for advancement, growth, and development. We're also
okay, so Phil asked, do I have a Streamlab or like a one-time donation on Locals? Yeah, so you can actually do a one-time donation on Locals. If you go to kb.locals.com/support, there is the option to click over to one-time donation and make it that way. And also, like, that, if you're not a member by Locals already, I believe that does actually get you like membership privileges for a one-time donation. So like, that's an option as well, guys. And I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. It really, I'm not lying when I say your support does make it possible for me to do this. I would not be able to do this stuff without you guys. So thank you. And I hope that I give you enough value to cover whatever gift you might give. Scott says, take some of Google's money I get from surveys. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Yes, Reagan, it does help. Thank you.
Actively looking to increase the number of BIPOC leaders at all levels of our organizations to ensure that diverse views and experiences are represented and valued across the university. Your participation in the teaching today is an important step in our progress as a university, and I look forward to joining you in the work moving forward and our journey forward. Thank you so much. And now, Annalise, back to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Happy Friday, everyone.
Oh, they just had the
Thank you
white
for all
man
your
read a
support.
statement.
It's
Okay,
really
I
been
see. The white man's not actually
tremendous.
teaching anything.
Yeah,
so that's probably
he's
good.
right. It's getting me to think a little differently. We've kind of talked about this as a day, kind of quote unquote, you set aside, right, to do the work. But I think based on what you just shared, it is doing the work. So thank you for that reminder. So next I have just the honor of introducing someone who I think is so phenomenal, who just made her year anniversary at Tulane University, Shelby Norman. What do I even say about Shelby, except that I think
there
she's
we
one of the
go.
most
There we get some
incredible humans
diversity.
I've ever met, and has just been
Excellent.
a huge partner in the anti-racism leadership program. I love that I get to learn and work with you every day. We are in a very close quarters office situation. So what a pleasure it is to work with you and our entire team with Danette and Ava. So thank you for being one of our co-moderators. And thanks everyone for starting to check in with your name, your pronouns, and where you are on campus.
Oh, your
Shelby, take it away.
pronouns. Oh, how nice.
Thank you so much, Annalise and Patrick Norton for giving those really poignant words to kind of kick off today's session. And so firstly, I'll go ahead and introduce the session title and what we're going to be talking about today. And then I'm going to introduce my incredible co-moderator and our panelists. So just as a reminder, what we're all here for, we're going to be talking about everyday anti-racism leadership practices at Tulane and how those are engaging in individual
Thank
and
you, Sparkle.
collective
I
racial
appreciate
equity
that.
change work. And so I would first want to thank my co-moderator, the incomparable and amazing Dr. Laura Osteen, who is the Assistant Vice President for Campus Life. So thank you.
Oh, Alex, I'm going to DM you something that I need for Sassy Saturday tomorrow. Just FYI, make sure to check your DMs, but we'll do this too.
So much for being here and doing this work that you do and doing it with us together. And also thank you to our panelists who are here with us today. So firstly, I'm going to introduce Timothy Kraft. So Tim Kraft is the program manager for the Tulane Violence Prevention Institute.
Oh, shoot.
Tim is a community organizer who
Alex, we may need to finagle StreamYard tomorrow for Sassy Saturday. I thought I could set it up differently than apparently I can set it up. Okay, we'll figure it out.
has worked primarily with queer and disabled folks. Tim graduated from Tulane School of Social Work with an emphasis in the work of grassroots organization and believes in doing work that centers the most impacted and often those kept in the margins. And Tim is interested in work that is accessible, utilizes anti-racist frameworks, and is inclusive of LGBTQIA+ identities. So Tim, thank you so much for being here with us today. Nextly, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Sheila Gold. Sheila is the Executive Director of Admissions of the Tulane University School of Professional Advancement. She is a licensed clinical social worker and has professionally practiced in education for over 20 years as both an enrollment professional and school counselor. Sheila began her career at Tulane University in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions and has worked in both the higher education and K-12 arenas. And Sheila has most recently has most recently been the Executive Director of Admissions at Tulane School of Social Work. And prior to that was the Lower School Director of Guidance for Isidore Newman School. And she has recently earned her doctorate from the School of Social Work at Tulane. So thank you, Sheila, so much for being here with us today. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Barry Spanier, who is with us. And Barry is the Tulane University Director of Bands. He has directed and produced music for events on the world's largest stages, including 2 Olympics and a World Exposition, plus special events, festivals, concerts, and musical theater. Mr. Spanier's career has been established in new musical ensembles and building programs and organizations. For the World Expo of 1988, he designed and directed a marching band program in an environment that was previously had no such tradition. And for the Sydney Olympics, he directed 2,000 young musicians from 23 nations and blended them into a cohesive ensemble, the largest marching band in history. And also,
the introductions are always the longest.
The New York University Orchestra program and built it from a rudimentary 19-piece string group to an 85-piece symphony plus secondary orchestra and various chamber groups. Barry, thank you so much for being here with us as well. We're really excited to get into this conversation about anti-racist leadership work that you all have done and have continued to push the margins in and doing your own work and then assisting in the work of others. So again, thank you all so much for your time with us together. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to my co-moderator, Dr. Osteen, to ask our first question.
Weaponized boredom. That's exactly right. Weaponized
It is an
boredom.
honor to be with you all today. And our first question, Sheila, we are coming to you. And our first question is, what prompted your interest in racial allyship?
I was told that I had to.
Program?
That's what
you,
I was told that I had
so
to.
let me just say I'm honored to be on this panel. I want to sort of open this up and sort of stand in my truth that I do not want to be seen as an expert in this. I'm happy to share my experience. To me, doing anti-racist work is sort of lifelong work, right? Like I'm in my journey, and so I'm coming to you today with where I am at this moment in time, which is different than maybe where I was a month ago, and hopefully different from where I'll be a month, a year.
I discovered anti-racism work a whole month ago when I was told that I had to complete an anti-racist training in order to keep my job. But it is a lifelong passion. It is a lifelong passion for me, even though I just discovered it. It is lifelong work.
2 years from now. So I answer these questions as of sort of like this moment in time. So to answer your question, I sort of see that as a two-part question. The first one is, how do I come to be an ally? And so to me, my answer is like, what is the choice, right? Like, to me, allyship is a verb. And so if I'm not choosing to be an ally, then I'm actively choosing not to be an ally, and that's not acceptable. So that is how I want to appear in spaces. It's certainly, allyship is something that I have practiced and learned about, you know, as a social worker, but I do feel like I am much more intentional every single day as I continue to do my work. So that is the answer to that part. And then in terms of the anti-racist leadership program, I was appreciative of the university to offer the opportunity for me to continue to do this work in a very intentional way, with a class that had structure and time set aside that I felt like was a luxury, that I was being given the time to be able to study. But I also, it was a very quick way for me to learn other peers on campus who were interested in the same work. And so for me, allyship is not a solitary activity. You have to have others in order to be an ally. So it was a gift to be able to learn with the other members of the group, some of whom are on the panel today.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I appreciate the collective, individual and collective responses. Timothy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited. I really appreciate it. So I think my journey to this place comes from a realization that I was doing harm as a community organizer, right?
He, they, I knew it. I was doing harm as a kid. This poor guy. What is with his voice? Is this a trans man? I don't know. I think I can see an Adam's apple. I think I can vaguely make out an Adam's apple. So what the fuck is with his voice? Incognito says, either with us or against us, no neutrality. You will be assimilated. That's what we're watching right now. We're literally watching people being assimilated into the Borg.
Very deep in doing like LGBT organizing specifically, and realizing how much power being a community organizer gave me, and how I was unconsciously using that power to exclude others or reinforce systems of white supremacy that I didn't have an idea about.
This
you know,
poor person.
There's a frustration that people let me do that. Nobody ever really took me aside and talked to me about the harm that I was doing. And so I realized that a lot of that is on me and my own learning. And a lot of that is on what I wish someone had done for me and how I could do that for someone else. And in terms of ARLP here at Tulane, I feel like ARLP is the most transformative thing happening at Tulane right now. I feel like it encompasses all my values and really balances what we can do as a large institution with a deeply rooted history and all these things, and how we can push the boundaries, right, of what's already been done and how those values can play out in every day. You know,
I really am trying to figure out if this is like a cis man or a trans man. Based on the voice alone. I mean, like, obviously has very feminine mannerisms. Maybe used to. I swear to God, I don't. I feel like I see an Adam's apple, though, is the thing. That's the only thing that's preventing me from saying it's a trans man. Not that it really matters, I suppose, but I find the voice very confusing.
and the long-term future that we're looking for.
Thank you so much. The sense of integrity of doing what we say we're like. Thank you.
Like, is it a cis
Very.
man that took estrogen?
Yes, just to echo that it's really been a privilege and an honor to be part of the program this last year. What brought me to it is just a continuing learning curve. but also realizing the opportunity to work through
Oh,
ARLP
I just got
and to
it.
learn more. And
I just got it. This is a panel of white people who are admitting their complicity with systemic racism. That's what this is. This is simply a panel of white people who are admitting their complicity and atoning for their sin of being born white. All right, I understand. Oh, Jenny's Getting Geek with it says, can confirm one-time donation gets you access to locals, and when that access ends, you get an email letting you know. I use it so I can give more than the regular annual fee. Oh, thank you, Jenny. Actually, you guys can. Okay, again, I don't want to like pressure you guys into like, giving me money if you don't want to or if you don't have it, but you actually can. Let me just show you guys since you guys were asking about this. So on the support page, you can increase the monthly donation if you want. You can increase the annual donation if you want, and you can make a one-time gift if you want to do that. And all of those things are great, or you can give it at that level. That's great too, or you don't have to give it all. But I do appreciate you confirming for me that that works that way. I was pretty sure it did, but I'm glad that I was correct on that. All right. Let's keep going back to our panel of guilty white people admitting their complicity for being white.
to gain skills and knowledge. The civil rights movement
Sweet,
of the 60s,
cancel
I
Disney,
was
join
very
my
well and observed,
locals.
but I was a kid, 5 years old, 10 years old, and I had older brother and sister. So I was always tuned into it, experienced some things secondhand or third hand, but always as an observer. And well, through my life, through volunteerism, donations, voting, whatever it may be, engaging, but still at a distance. And it was not part of my professional life, my daily life in that way. So this I saw as a great opportunity to grow as a professional and incorporating everything into it. So so it's been part of that journey for me. And so 55 years later, I get a chance to learn and relearn and reconfigure how I approach it and what I can do. Not to be neutral and allow things to happen, but to be an ally, and then to move into being a co-conspirator and acting on things.
A co-conspirator.
So, that's a lot of language
All
I've
right.
learned, and goes beyond the language. It's actually absorbing and making it live.
A co-conspirator.
Thank you so much, Barry, for
You're
that
all
lifelong
co-conspirators
experience,
now.
co-conspirator.
I think that moves us into our next question really well. All of you talking a little bit about your interest and why you were led to be in this anti-racism work and find your own kind of path and your situation within it. And you, Barry, kind of using that language, that new language, co-conspirator, as something that you've kind of, learned throughout your training. This next question is specifically about that.
Coconut conspirators. I like that, Benjamin.
Your newfound anti-racism training and this journey that you're finding yourselves on, how does that impact your current interactions? And that can look a handful of ways. So as a colleague, right, in a managerial or supervisory position, or as an instructor, how can that look being an employee? How can that look just being a member of the Tulane community? So wherever you situate yourself specifically, how does your active anti-racism training impact that? And I think, Barry, we might as well just pitch it back to you.
Okay. To me, it is through whatever we go through daily, paying bills, hiring staff, working with students, selecting music for a concert, whatever it may be. I now look at all of that first through anti-racism. So I use that as the first filter now. And in those choices, I don't necessarily have complete control over every choice, but in working with my staff, how can we create select repertoire and present it? And what does that mean as far as anti-racism? Highlighting local Black composers or artists, else. So I try my work, my professional work, through that lens first, and at every opportunity to utilize what I'm learning and how I can apply that to impact what we do. That's also kind of going forward. We had a good fortune of having a program review for the band program recently. So that also opened up a vision for the band program going forward over the next 5 years or more. And so again, through that lens of anti-racism, how can we have an impact both as staff, as students, with the community engagement and guidance we get
I
from
kind of
culture
hope,
bearers.
hang on, Spirit Matter says, this wouldn't get far with Karlyn in a struggle session. I really want to be involved in a struggle session someday, like a real one. Okay, so I think I told this story. I've definitely told this story before, but I don't know if I've actually told it like that many times. So the very first like inkling that I got that this woke shit was going on back when I was still a Democrat is basically that I had this group of friends called the Kittens. I literally have a kitten emoji tattoo on my ankle that I got with these women. I've got like multiple tattoos with these women because that was just something that we did together. They were all in higher education. They worked all over the country. I was really close friends with these women to the point where we like had, discussion groups and stuff like that. And like we were kind of like a known clique and stuff. And anyway, so one of the women in the group decided one day that she was non-binary. And she slowly started like, transitioning and then was using they, them pronouns and then started using he, him pronouns. And I always respected it. I didn't really care. Like she was my friend. Like I wasn't going to judge that, even though I thought, okay, whatever. But like, it's not my place to judge. It's her life. And so I was always very respectful. Yeah. I think, yeah, Reagan, I thought I might've put part of this story in my book. So I was always very respectful of her. But one day, the Kittens cornered me on a Facebook direct message. And on that Facebook direct, yes, it was an all women's group. And on that Facebook direct message, they told me that because I used the word dude, I was using too much gendered language and that I needed to reflect on my behaviors and stop using gendered language and be a good ally. And I was like, what the fuck? And my big thing was like, I'm not getting cornered by the 6 of you on a Facebook. We're not having a Facebook Messenger intervention. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. If you want to talk to me, get on a fucking Zoom call. And they happened to do this at a time when like I was really busy and really like had like 15 different things going on. And they had a whole fucking script. They had actually worked to stage an intervention with me over the fact that I used the term dude to like, say, hey, dude, what's going on? Or like, just like that I referred to people as dude, regardless of their gender. And they had a whole script where one of them would say one thing and then another one of them would follow up. And it was like obviously scripted out language. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I told them flat out, I was like, no, I'm not engaging in this. And this was before I even knew what a struggle session was. I just knew that it was fucked up that a group of women that claimed to be my friend had like coordinated to have an intervention over Facebook Messenger because I used the term dude. Anyway, that was my very first interaction with a struggle session, but I really would like someone to try to engage me in a struggle session now. I feel like I would just have a ball with that. What I would do is I would totally just go with the flow and I would like agree with everything they said pretty much. And I would just like try to fuck with them as best I could. That's probably how I would play it now, if I'm honest with you. Emily Atwood says, thanks for all you do. I really look forward to all the streams this week. Screw the YouTube overlords. Fuck YouTube right in the ass. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, Melissa, they wouldn't have liked the term guys either. Oh no. They don't like that either.
How can we help use our platform as a public performance and also educational organization to amplify and to build on that for the community?
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Barry. Timothy.
Thanks. Tim is fine, for the record. I think what Barry said about it being a lens is really important and really resonates with me is, and Sheila mentioned being a lifelong learner. Like that's really what it's about for me too. It's like, this is a new way of looking at the world and it's it's not new. It's new for me, right? And so applying that to everything and starting there, I think is another great thing that Barry said. This question had sort of like all these different pieces and places, and I've never really been good about separating those out. I was in another leadership thing and they were like, what are your personal versus your professional values? And I was like, oh, are those supposed to be different? Because I'm not separating those out. I'm trying to live with everything unified. Like, I think that that's the way that I approach this work and the way that I want the world to be, is not having those separations between, whatever they are, right? How can we sort of bring this all together?
Thanks, Tim. Sheila?
So I also want to echo the lens. I do feel like, through my work, I try to now look at situations first through an anti-racist lens.
Oh God, this woman's like a true believer.
When I see through that lens, looks different depending on my role, right? So I think that that's important, and Tim just sort of mentioned that. So I think that we all have different roles on this campus, right? Like, we could just have a role as a community member walking down the sidewalk, right? Like, we're just, we're not necessarily in our position at that point. You're just a community member. And so what does that look like? As opposed to sort of your professional role, as opposed to your interpersonal role with colleagues or coworkers. And so that looks different, right? And so this is all part of the work that we do. But I do think, on an interpersonal level, I try to be conscious of like what I read and what I consume and what I'm sort of putting in my head, what I'm nurturing my own thoughts with. But in terms of with colleagues, being a gatekeeper, like who we let in, who we let out of conversations, being conscious of that, what voices we center in conversations. I think that's really important, being aware of the systems that we're a part of, even if it's just in casual conversation. And then, for me personally, I have done a lot of thinking about the space I take up in a room. Because as a white person, I think we're taught that we're entitled to take up a lot of space.
You are entitled to take up a lot of space.
So I want to be
Everyone
conscious
is
about making
entitled
sure
to
I'm
take
not
up
taking
space.
up more space than I should be taking up. And, just even in terms of the time that I, spend in a room, let some other people in, let some new voices come to the table. So I think all of these things are really interesting ways to apply the lens that both Tim and Barry mentioned. So once again, a work in progress, but different ways to think about different roles.
Really appreciate Sheila and connect with you around how do I think about the space that I'm taking up as a white person. Thank you for naming that.
Hang on. This is a horrible thing to teach people. You are allowed to take up space. Every human being is allowed to take up space. They've done studies on this, and people who constrict their body to fit into a small space for extended times, or they hunch their shoulders, like when they're texting and they're looking down at their phone like this, like those people are much more prone to clinical depression. You are entitled to take up space. I don't care if you're black, white, brown, Asian, Native American, whatever, doesn't matter. You are entitled to take up space, and don't ever allow anyone to say otherwise. This is why one of Jordan Peterson's conservative shill that he has become aside, because we're going to overlook the fact that Jordan Peterson has morphed into conservative commentator and reflect on all of the good work he's done. But this is why one of Jordan Peterson's rules is like, sit up, put your shoulders back, because it's your posture will very literally impact how you feel about yourself. If you have your body and you're nice and open and you don't mind taking up space, you are actually going to have more confidence. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to be a better communicator. You're just going to be a more powerful presence in the room. And there is nothing wrong with being a powerful presence. Yeah, this talk of space is fat phobic. I agree, Alex. By the way, Gwen Stefani just got accused of cultural appropriation. Oh, it just never ends. There's always a target.
It makes me think about also your language about how we're consuming constantly, which makes me think about the culture. And so, Mary, as I come to you, I think about how do we engage in changing the culture? What does that shift look like? What does it look like to process or to value the process and the quality of change versus just the quantity?
It's I find I'm always kind of trying to weigh and balance and keep those plates spinning at the same time, and sometimes one aspect will rise to the fore, just because of the situation or the personalities or the dynamics may be. In having gone through the ARLP training last year, coming out of that, I'm all revved up to like make immediate change, big change right away, but that may not be where my staff is, or the students or colleagues or vendors or who knows what else. So I'm trying to find the balance of making big impact, if that's the question, in shifting the culture, right? So I want the shift to be successful. And in some cases, maybe that shift can happen pretty quickly or broadly. In other cases, maybe it's brick by brick. So that's a big challenge. Certainly the process, I think, is to me is incorporating, again, through the lens of like everything we do, let's take a look at it. And is it neutral and not making a change either way? Is it something that's going to make progress bit by bit, slowly? Is there an opportunity to make big progress more quickly? So kind of balancing that. And so the process itself.
Does anyone else find it to be a little bit racist that they have a Black sign language interpreter? Basically, she's spending her time interpreting the words of all of these evil, white, oppressive allies, kind of allies. That seems a little bit racist to me, I'm just going to say. She's basically she's basically a slave to white people in the course of this discussion. Congratulations, Tulane. The more anti-racist you try to be, the more oppressive you become.
To me, is not a static thing, but it's sort of case by case in the context of everything else. Where can we find openings? Sort of like a running back on football field. There may be an opening, but maybe it's about to close and they got to run to the sideline first. So navigating it's a process that keeps changing and shifting, and we want to find the openings to be successful with it.
Well, Incognito says, talk about white savior complex. You're getting space because I'm giving it up because I'm so privileged and you're not. Almost narcissist behavior. Listen, man, there is the beauty of the world. These people live in such a mindset of scarcity. The beauty of the world is that there is more than enough space for every single person in the world. That's like a provably true fact. There is more than enough space for every single person in the world. Therefore, everyone gets to take up space. There is no scarcity of space. So why are you trying to convince people that they have to give up their space to make someone else feel comfortable? That is provably not true. Yeah, Spirit Matter says Gwen Stefani wore dreadlocks in a video. Cultural appropriation. Gwen Stefani is canceled.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that idea that it's everything, but we start somewhere. And the football metaphor while on your background of the football field.
I'm on the field, always.
Timothy.
Yeah, I
white
think
lady
for me,
oh God.
We have this like default stance of how things should be done. And I think we have a great opportunity to really challenge that and think about that differently. I have heard making seats at the table very often. And I think I take that further and I think who's building the table, right? Like, are you creating that space without people in the room to begin with and then bringing them along later, starting from the jump and really starting with, just that foundation, right? What does your foundation look like? And it's really about the process more than the outcome, right? I think the process is just as important. How we do things is really as important as how we get there. And I think Jason in the chat said like really simple things can be very impactful. And I think that that's something we should all lean into, right? Just like the slightest shifts in mindsets, or not being afraid to ask questions, or I think there's a pressure to like feel like you have to do it correctly, or like you have to do it the way it's always done. But being able to ask like somebody like, is this okay? How are we doing? You know, sort of having that culture of, and culture to me is like a lot of people, right? Like it's not just you alone doing this. It's like, who are we leaning on? Who are we talking to? And
Oh,
yeah, that accountability
did I
that we
miss a
build
super
to each other
chat?
is really important.
I apologize if I missed your super chat. Hang on, let me go back. Sorry about that. Oh gosh, I apologize, Naruto. Has watching the whole truth been soul cleansing for you? Yes. Yes. Extremely soul cleansing. And guys, just so you know, if you saw part 1 of my reaction to the whole truth on my YouTube channel, I was gonna put parts 2 and 3 up, but then YouTube gave me a bogus strike. But you can actually watch parts 2 and 3 right now in my locals community. I will make them available on YouTube as soon as I'm able to make them available on YouTube. But no, it was absolutely a I hate to say that I found relief from someone else's pain, because I wish she hadn't gone through those things. I really do. I believe every single word that she said. But it was a great relief to know that I'm not the only one. And I think I've heard so many stories since then, like people like Ashton Birdie, who I had a long conversation with Ashton at PorkFest. Like she and I have had extraordinarily similar experiences. And I think that she's kind of like tiptoeing out now, and she's talked publicly about this, so I'm not spilling the beans or anything, but she might tell her story. Sydney Watson is making, you know, motions publicly that she might tell her story. And I think that, I don't know if it's a woman thing or if it's a conservative thing in general. I don't, you know what pissed me off though is the quartering. Fucking Jeremy from the quartering is pretending that he's never engaged in this. He's like, yeah, I feel it. It's happened to me too. Dude, fucking the quartering has done this shit to me. The quartering targeted me directly. And so the quartering can go fuck himself if he's pretending that he's just like a poor victim in this situation. The quartering has engaged in this bullshit. And I can provide receipts to that if anyone wants to see them. But like, you know, overall, it does actually feel really good. And I had a great conversation with with a medium that I talked to today, and we were kind of talking about how, you know, she's actually on a really well-known YouTube channel, and she's gotten dragged in the same way, and the woman whose channel it is has gotten really dragged in the same way. And so we were having a great conversation about that too, and how it's just like, this is just what happens. And I think that it's really, really good that we're finally talking about it. I think that that's a really positive thing. So thank you for asking, and thank you for being right on top of it and making sure I read your super chat. I appreciate it.
Especially as white folks. And yeah, like for me, I know like I have so much more power than I realize a lot of times, and that power is so protective. And so I'm not afraid to take risks and make mistakes anymore, because I know the consequence.
And I wasn't even talking about that. Yes, the quartering has literally tweeted out someone else's porn. And that may have been funny and entertaining, and God knows I looked as much as anyone else did, but to literally be the guy who grifted off of someone else on the internet for how many videos did he make about Jack Murphy? How many videos did the quartering make about Jack Murphy? And then to pretend he's not involved in any of this? Bullshit. There was no inherent value that anyone got by seeing Jack Murphy take it up the ass with a dildo. I'm sorry. There was just no inherent... Funny and entertaining, yes. But no inherent value. Yes, and Hypocrite is also a massive grifter and a moron. That guy is a moron. Like, not the brightest crayon in the box. He did indeed take it like a man. He did indeed.
Aren't going to be as bad as I've been conditioned to think they are. And I know there are people that have my back. So even if I do mess up, or I push Tulane a little bit too far, there'll be people there to support me. And ARLP has been a huge part of that, right? Is like, here's like a class of people who I know have my back in shifting the culture.
Thank you so much.
That
I
person
love
strikes
the
me as
idea about
emotionally stunted
asking,
at
a
best.
cultural curiosity.
Very
is the culture of
emotionally
anti-racism. Like,
stunted.
thank you. Sheila.
So, look, I mean, look at what we're doing right now, right? Like 2 years ago, this wasn't happening. So these conversations are being woven through the university. And, you know, to me, this is like a muscle, right? It's like, even, you know, think about how kids learn, right? They don't just like show up one day and learn, you know, multiplication because it was shown to them once. They practice it, they talk about it, they review it, they have homework, you know, I mean, it's constant. That's how humans learn. And they also learn by falling down, right? Like, you know, how do we learn to walk? We fall down a lot and we get up and we bruise ourselves and somebody picks us up and goes, you can do it. And so that's what this is going to look like too. And so I think creating this space and this community, and I agree, having allies, right? Like having, when I say allies, I mean other like-minded people that you can talk to and say, oh, you know, I did something and the impact was different than the intention. And so I feel like it didn't really land the right way. How do I get myself back up and re-engage and try and, you know, make the change that I want is really important. And the ARLP group provided that. And then we keep, growing the numbers, right? Like there's more classes, and then we also find out other people that are interested in this work. And so, you know, you find your community and it becomes somewhat contagious. And then it also gets normalized by having days like this. I mean, the university put aside this huge chunk of time for all of us to learn today. So that is the change. We are in it right in this second. So we're not where we want to be, but we're in it. So that should be recognized.
Thank you. I love that, Sheila.
No, that's wonderful to hear. Just kind of all of you sort of tracking your trajectory around learning and situating yourselves within the positionality that you have, and finding community and cultivating that community of learning and allyship and accomplishship, if you will. And I think that can really help us think about this next question, which is, you know, once you're sort of aware of your privileges and your power that you hold within various areas within the university and within society in general, right? And how you're kind of applying that knowledge of self to this knowledge of anti-racism leadership, how do you address these different multiple intersections of other oppressions that exist within society with systemic racism?
I want to make a point. Nice to see you, Progressive Rising. Have a great weekend. So one of the reasons I picked out this training is because I felt like we needed a little bit of a throwback. We haven't done a good anti-racist CRT training in a while, just because like the grooming and the gender ideology stuff has like taken over the mainstream narrative. But this was in May. This was 2 months ago. This was not that long ago. And what I want people to understand is, just because we might not be hearing as much about the race stuff in the news because, you know, they've kind of moved on to like their next storyline, it still exists out there. People are still doing this all over the place. And so don't think that just because you're not hearing about it in the news, it's not happening and it's not still being advanced by the left. And, you know, doesn't this feel like a throwback? Doesn't this feel like a presentation we could have watched 2 years ago and it would have been like the new thing? Well, to these people, it is the new thing. And so I guess the point I'm making is, just because it seems like the news cycle has moved on to something new, that's what the news cycle does. They need to keep it fresh. They need to keep people interested. They can't talk about critical race theory forever. This still exists in the real world and is still being advanced in the real world. And that's one of the reasons I picked out this training, was because like people like us, we've seen all this before, we've heard all this before, but these people are still indoctrinated into the race part of this ideology, and that hasn't gone away. Yeah, Jenny says, makes a great point. It doesn't sound like a training, more like virtue signaling, pats on the back, but that's what they all sound like. That's what they all sound like.
How has your training sort of allowed you to identify those things, and how do you address them within your various spheres? So Tim, can you speak to that a little bit, how you kind of address it?
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about a lot of the disability work I do, and a lot of my friends identify as autistic, right? And it's a bit of a controversial thing.
I am
'cause it's
shocked.
Like, are you
I am
a person
shocked
first, or are you your
that
identity
trans
first?
people identify as
And
autistic. I am
a lot of my friends
shocked
feel
by
very
this
strongly that like
revelation.
you can't separate out their autism from who they are as a person and how they navigate the world, and how other people treat
I
them
am
based on those
shocked, I
things. And
say.
so
I never
think
saw that
intersectionality
coming.
has to be a piece of this. You can't separate out all of your intersecting identities. And to think about where like Tulane doesn't like loves to be like Tulane and the community, and those are both two very broad overarching things. And I'm always trying to figure out like, where am I a community member, right? Like what groups am I a part of where like I have needs and I want to see change for me, and where do I have power and privilege to make change for other people? Sorry for the appearance of my cat, he does that. Yeah, and so
Okay, I think this is a trans man. I'm putting my stake in the ground. This person used to be a woman and is now a man. I don't care if there's an Adam's apple. Something else is going on there. I feel like this person has had like a tracheotomy or something. Like there's something going on with their throat. But I'm putting my stake in the ground. This is a person that transitioned from being a woman to a he, they. Final answer.
So you can't take out these different pieces because they don't happen in a vacuum.
God.
And they intersect with each other and they influence each other, and keep that a part of what we're doing, you know?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Barry. You're on mute. We want to hear you though.
I hadn't said anything important. It's okay. Echoing what Tim said about all the different intersections and trying to unwind them from each other in order to analyze versus looking them.
I'm
at them
Googling
as
this
a
person right now. I
collective
need to
issue.
know.
So I find it, while thinking about it
Timothy.
more globally, I think each incident or something, maybe as a witness, seeing something occur, microaggressions, whatever it may be, that trying to work with that situation as it is in the moment, because that's what's been presented as both a challenge and an opportunity. So I find it, otherwise I go round and round in my head. It's hard to unwind it all because it is all interconnected. Some of the same human impulses that are driving, bad action, bad intent. So, or ignorance.
Oh yeah. Okay.
in-
Okay. I think that this is definitely a former woman. And the reason I say that is I've now found other No, there's a fucking Adam's apple. This guy. What is? That is definitely an Adam's apple, but it looks like a woman. It looks so feminine. I may have just accidentally called him it. I didn't mean to do that. That was a misgender. I want to see something like Timothy Kraft is a cis man or a trans man, and I'm just not finding any of it. He is interested in work that is accessible, utilizes anti-racist frameworks, and is inclusive of LGBTQIA+ identities. Huh, I guess we'll never know. It will forever remain a mystery. Maybe I doubt detransitioning. If they're talking about like anti-racist frameworks, I doubt he like in some of these pictures though, he really does look extremely feminine. Like extremely feminine with an Adam's apple. I guess it doesn't really matter. This is my own morbid curiosity. If someone else wants to Google while we're watching, I won't stop you.
Maybe not intended, but but the actions anyway. So I try to take each situation, whether it's something I can approach in advance because I know it's coming up, or something in the moment that happens, and try to focus on what are the dynamics at work right then and there between the people or the situation that's happening, and then deal with it in that way. And sometimes I feel like I can and should.
I do now have his office phone number, though, which is just right out on the internet. It's not like I had to search very hard to find his office phone number. Maybe someday. Oh God, I don't know if I would be able to. I don't know if I'd be able to play this straight. Maybe someday we should start like prank calling some of these people, just for fun. We can come up with a whole script. We can have a specific ask. It's probably a really bad idea. We'd have to find a one record state. It's probably a really bad idea. I couldn't play it straight. I would burst out loud. Yeah, Phil. Phil is like, yes, I'm in. I'll do it. Phil, you've just volunteered yourself, Phil. Phil is going to be our prank caller. This could be a really horrible idea. We need to research the legal implications of this idea. We need to think about it. We'll see. Guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please make sure to mount that like button, and please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already.
Become a part of that dynamic in the moment. Other times, I know we went through a lot of role playing, and that was one of the most challenging and fascinating things from last year's training, is that do you interject yourself in a situation? Can you do more damage than good?
Barry is possibly the most boring straight cis white man on one of these panels that I've ever seen, and I can feel kind of bad for that. He seems like a really nice guy that's been suckered into this. Node says playing it straight is heteronormative. Indeed. Indeed. If we do a prank call, you've got to use your pronouns. You've got to call and say, hello, my name is Phil, and I use he, they pronouns, or they, them pronouns, or z. Maybe we should just make up pronouns. Maybe we could just make up like crazy pronouns, but play it totally straight. Hi, my name is Phil, and I use bog gender as my pronoun. All right. Since this was the next voted upon beer, I am now going to drink Blue Sippin' Serendipity. Again, it has a picture of a crazy lady that looks like one of my Twitter haters crying because that's what she does. But maybe it'll be good and it'll be blue. And this is going to be a sour ale with blueberry, apricot, Meyer lemon, sea salt, and vanilla. Let's see how blue this beer is. It does look kind of blue. Ooh. Oh, it's so pretty. Bog and bog self, said Spirit Matter. That's right. That is a pretty beer, isn't it? It's kind of like my Disenraged logo. All right, let's see. That's really good. That's really good. I think I always love blueberry and lemon together, but I also feel like the addition of the vanilla, really nice. Really, really nice. Oh, you talked about me yesterday on Free Talk Live? Hope you watched my recent anti-free stater troll video. Yes, I did. Oh, that was you? Oh, breaking the flaw? That was... Yes. Yes. Well done. I will make sure to like let me know like what you guys talked about and like when you talked about it, and like I'll definitely check it out. I appreciate you talking about me, and well done. Well done at the anti-free stater protest. I was so upset that I couldn't go, but I had something I had to do that day and I wasn't going to be home in time. But like, standing ovation, my friend. Well played. Well played indeed.
Those things, and there's no one answer. Every situation is different. So to me, it's really keeping the big picture in mind, but dealing with each situation as it comes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Barry. Sheila.
So, intersectionality is super interesting to me. And I believe that most of us have multiple intersections, right? But I think we need to be careful. I think there's a little bit of a cautionary tale there in that if we look at intersections through a white supremacist lens, it could divide us, right? Like there could be these small little subgroups that, white supremacy says, well, this is the most, sort of oppressed, and people start, doing this like.
Steven got a bingo! Steven, congratulations on your bingo, Steven. Well done. Well, guys, now we're doing blackout bingo. We only have 20 minutes left of this presentation, so it might be, a little bit of a stretch. But if you get a bingo with lines or corners, please feel free to chat in and let us know, and we will give you a healthy round of applause, just like we're giving to Steven. Well played.
The more, and this, this person or this group's oppression is a little bit less important. And I think we need to flip that script and be very, very careful that what intersectionality teaches us is that we're all interconnected and that we all have been on the receiving end.
Not what intersectionality teaches you at all.
Either having our voices marginalized or not included.
It's not what it means.
That is the message, that
Wrong.
if you felt it yourself, then everyone's felt it. And if you're being marginalized, then somebody else potentially is going to be marginalized, and we can't stand for it. Like, that's not what we want if we want a healthy community. And so we need to be very careful about the lens through which we see that. And so hopefully we can feel that our own experience is something that we can bring to the table and say, it wasn't great when it happened to me, and I am going to make sure that the lesson is that I'm not
a hard kombucha. I never heard of such a thing. Wow.
Thank you all so much. It makes me think about
I gotta come to
the
Keene,
beautiful
obviously.
examples and stories that you've told from ARLP. What I wonder now is, how have you continued that learning yourself?
It's true.
Like, now that you are out
True.
in that structure, what now are you doing to move forward in your ongoing development and learning? Sheila, I'll come back to you to start.
So I briefly touched on this before. I just find that the more I do this work, the more I'm drawn to, books, art, music, things that are feeding it. It sort of compounds on itself. And so it's a little bit, the you are what you eat model. That's true for what goes in your head and your thoughts too. And so I think I make different choices than I used to. And then the more I learn, the more I want to learn, and the more I'm introduced, to another author or another poet or another, or another person who I have incredible conversations with. And I also find that I'm revisiting things that I might have consumed intellectually in the past, and I see those very differently also. And so that's an interesting thought process for me in terms of my own growth. And so it's I find that it's a luxury to have colleagues and coworkers that I can talk about.
Phil, you're going to New Orleans next week? Oh my God, you could, or what you really could do, Phil, is just go get some of those amazing oysters they have in New Orleans with like the Parmesan cheese. Phil, I am so jealous that you're going to New Orleans. New Orleans is like my favorite city ever. Besides Boston. Boston is #1 favorite city. But in terms of like favorite cities to visit, New Orleans is the best. New Orleans has the most amazing food. The food is everything is good, but you got to get the oysters with the cheese. The char grilled oysters, those are the best. Regular oysters are fine too, but like those are the best. Or like some Cajun like food, or like, oh my God, or like you can get like a beignet, I guess, but like that's so like, fucking stereotypical. Just like go down that road. I think it's what is the name of the road right next to fucking Bourbon Street? The one right next to it, there are all sorts of beautiful art galleries. Oh, there's so much. I'm so jealous. Phil, I am jealous. I want to go to New Orleans. No, those oysters in New Orleans beat Maryland crab cakes. And Maryland crab cakes are good. Don't get me wrong. I've spent many Many a conference in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. I understand what you're talking about, but dude, oysters in New Orleans. Ah.
About this with and that are generous enough with their own thoughts that might challenge me
You're
or
wrong, Phil.
encourage me.
You're wrong.
But
It's okay to be
that's
wrong.
a little bit sort of where I am.
No, it's not Canal Street. What the fuck is the name of that street? Hang on. Street next to Bourbon Street, New Orleans. I want to say it's like King or something. I need a map. I literally just need a map. No. Royal Street. That's what it is. Royal Street. Royal Street has all sorts of awesome, well, I mean, I haven't been to New Orleans in like a minute. Royal Street has all sorts of awesome shops, amazing art galleries. New Orleans is one of the best places to look at art anywhere. We actually have downstairs in the living room, we actually have like a poster that I got in like a New Orleans thrift shop that is a dachshund standing up wearing a crown in a bog. I was like, I have to get this. It's like a dachshund wearing a fucking crown. It's amazing. No, Royal Street. Go to Royal Street. Don't go to Bourbon Street. Bourbon Street sucks. Okay, like walk down it a little bit if you have to. But like Royal Street is the best street in New Orleans.
In my journey. So that's just one way to do it, I guess.
Thoroughly appreciate that, and I thoroughly appreciate the reference to who you are is what you eat. I just literally yesterday in a session with ELP said who you are is how you lead. Like we are informing our who we are daily. Yeah, thank you. Timothy.
Yeah, I think what you said about just like sort of this chain of like keeping exploring things is super important. It's really important to like consume a lot of different voices when you're doing your learning. I think I went through a phase where I was just like, you know, if a Black person said it, it's right. You know what I mean? Like that's the end all be all. I'm just going to live by that. And I think that really erases the intersectionality or the complexity and the nuance of doing this work. And it's really important to
really
see a lot of different perspectives and ideas around everything.
Well, that's interesting that Timothy he they is erasing the work of Black people due to You know why Timothy he they is erasing the work of Black people? Because Timothy wants his oppression points too. Timothy doesn't get oppression points for Black people. Timothy only gets oppression points through intersectionality. So he's like, yeah, you know, I used to believe that everything Black people said was right, but now I know about intersectionality, which gives me the power. Murphy's Pool, prank call. My cat refuses to be anti-racist. We'll have to script that out, Murphy's Pool. I don't think it's a bad starting point. That it could be a great starting point, actually. I'm on board with this. It could go right. Let's see. I believe if we hung out, we would be good friends. I can't believe we haven't fully met other than New Hampshire exit thing. Yeah, dude, let's hang out. I'm on board. I don't mind hanging out. Come to Jeremy's event at Strange Brew. I think it's next week. I'll be at Jeremy's event at Strange Brew in the next week or so. And if not, we'll meet at some point, dude. We both live in New Hampshire. We're both in the Liberty community. We're gonna meet at some point. But I'm looking forward to it.
I think for me, I'm a huge pop culture nerd. And so I spend a lot of time consuming like YouTube videos that are like anti-racist analysis of Marvel movies, you know, but those things really help me to sort of keep.
There's anti-racist analysis of Marvel movies? Holy shit. Hang on. I need to look this up. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that we may have just discovered next week's happy hour video. Let me know which signal group you're on, Breaking the Flaw. Let me know which one. There are like 8,000 signal groups. I don't know which one you're talking about. Holy shit. Hang on. I need to look this up really quickly before I forget. Anti-racist Marvel movies. Maybe I'll just do anti-racist Marvel. I'm not finding anything. I think Timothy might be lying. I think Timothy's making shit up. I'm not finding it. 10 painfully racist moments in Disney movies. Okay, hang on. Remind me to Google anti-racist Marvel movies at 10 a.m. All right, I'm going to look this up. I'm going to investigate it further. If anyone else finds anti-racist analysis of Marvel movies, you can let me know. And we can do it next week for happy hour.
Keep this lens on all the work that I'm doing. And like when I sit in a theater and I don't use my like critical brain and I just like react and respond to things. And then later when I hear someone's perspective on it or how it resonated with them or impacted them in a negative way or a positive way, it really challenges my core beliefs of like what's happening in front of me and what I'm seeing. And I love that. Like I've grown to just like love gathering those voices and thinking about how I fit into it, you know, and watching myself like change and grow through that process. And with the understanding that growth is not linear, right? Like we go back and forth a lot of times, and sometimes I get like really challenged by things that I see, and it like it triggers some defense mechanism in me that I didn't realize was there, and that was deeply like rooted, and that I have to sit and spend time with that, you know. And I think that's sort of the process of doing this. And there's joy in it, right? Like it's not all like oh, I'm having a defensive, horrible white person response. It's like, oh God, like I feel connected to this character more because I understand it from another perspective, or like I see myself in something I wouldn't have seen if I hadn't have heard someone else's voice from it.
So appreciate that very intentional way to bring multiple perspectives and truths into our lives. Thank you. Barry.
I'll riff off of the pop culture reference by paraphrasing a quote from a movie. I'll have what he's having. Yeah, and similar to Sheila, I just try to consume and read as many articles from different perspectives. There've been so many things that have happened, especially the last few years, and different views, both historical, current, you know, projecting what's happening. So that's my primary learning source, I think, being in touch with what's going on and people that I did not used to read, reading and then finding something to a related article. So that's, I enjoy that because it's all current thoughts.
This is all,
you know, based on
the most critical anti-racism work that these people always do is like, I read a book by a Black author, and that led me to read an article by a Black author, and that led me to read a poem by a Black author. It's so fucking racist. It's so racist. Like it, as if the only reason that you need to read a book written by someone who happens to be Black is because you're doing the work of being a good ally. It's like, why don't you read the book that you enjoy, and maybe the author happens to be Black or brown or something else, and who really cares? But do you like the book because the person's Black? Or do you like the book because you enjoy the content? I mean, as a person who's now written 2 books, I'm like, I don't give a fuck if people read this book because I'm white. Read it because you want to learn the content. Read it because you appreciate the content. Read it because you appreciate the hours and hours and hours that I spent writing that book at 2 a.m. because 2 a.m. is my optimal writing time. Appreciate the work that went into it. It has nothing to do with my skin color or my gender or the fact that I have silly hair or that people think I'm a lesbian. Like, it has nothing to do with any of those things.
History and present. And that gives us 2 dots to connect to see where we're headed in any particular topic. So that's the big part. I also, one of the last things that was said to all of us last year at our final meeting, which was a commencement ceremony. Commencement is about the beginning of something, and it was about, now go out there. We've done a lot this year. We've learned a lot. That's not the end. That's just the beginning. And now kind of go do it. So it's still a learning process, and staying connected with everybody on events like this and other things.
All right. I have to show you guys the thing that I just accidentally saw on Twitter. It has nothing to do with this stream at all. This is a great question, Sparkle. Are these people reincarnated witch burners? That is a great question. Are they inquisitors? You can tell this is a Friday news thing. Okay, everyone ready? I thought my husband was constipated. Actually, he had a water bottle in his butt. What the fuck? What the hell? Does anyone have thoughts about this? Why are you talking about this to the New York Post? That's a good question. Was it glass or plastic? That is a good question. Let's see. A married man from Iran, of course he's from Iran, is recovering after doctors removed a 7.5-inch water bottle from his rectum. The suspect suppositorily was discovered after the 50-year-old arrived at a hospital with his wife, who grew concerned once he stopped eating and began suffering from abdominal pain and constipation. The man continued to successfully hide his painful secretion right up until it was revealed to doctors via a CT scan. The man avoided mentioning that he'd inserted the object into himself due to embarrassment and fear of his wife. That shows you how much men really rule the roost in Iran right there. The case study said he had inserted the bottle with the bottom going in first in order to use the top as a grip to pull out. But when the time came to do so, the unfortunate object was wound up trapped in the man's large intestine. It looks like it was a plastic bottle. I'm not getting any mention of glass. It all looks plastic. You're welcome. I knew that we all needed that on a Friday. All right, let's finish this up. Yeah. Should be on Effed Up News. I need to start doing Effed Up News again. Probably. Can't this week. Banned on fucking YouTube. But he did have a plan. He had a plan. Just didn't work out. Sometimes, you know, this is the thing to keep in mind, guys. Sometimes plans don't work out. You can come up with the best laid, but it's all fun and games until you get a water bottle stuck in your ass. That's someone's gonna fucking clip that. I'll tell you what. It's all fun and games until you get a water bottle stuck up your ass. All right, let's keep going.
That are going on, but for me, it's continuing the learning process always.
Thank you, Barry.
Barry, I think you and I are connected telepathically, because you're always leading into these next questions so perfectly. And so I don't know how we're connected, but I think we're on the same wavelength today. But what you were saying about, this next step essentially being the beginning, you've learned all of these things, you've got all of these resources, now go out and do it. I think one of those first steps of doing it is sharing that wealth of knowledge and helping others figure out how to go out and do it. So we really kind of just want to hear from you all to know a little bit about giving some advice for those who are seeking to begin that journey towards becoming an anti-racist and contributing to anti-racist community. So where would you tell them to start?
I would just say jump in. There's no beginning point. It's not the Yellow Brick Road. Sorry, another pop culture reference. It's we're on our own paths. Mine happens to also go back a number of years, but the river's flowing and you just got to step and wade into it. And that means you're going to find things out along the way, but not to wait for a moment when it feels right. There's going to be questions, and part of the process is learning things you didn't know to ask questions about even, right? So just wade in, the water's nice, and we're there as a group. So it's a group learning process, and you'll learn as much about yourself as you do about the topics. So no reason to wait, jump in and you'll be fine. You'll flow and you'll end up in another place. You'll still be the same person, but you're going to be in a different context and be ready to continue to grow on after that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Barry. Sheila.
So we have, almost 300 people on this session. And so, my hunch is that if you're here, you're already interested in this work or doing this work, and you want to commit to it more.
Damn.
I will say, what I started off with, that, it's a little bit of an action, doing this is an action word. And so if you're not doing it, then you're participating in another way to the community, right? So if you want to be anti-racist, you got to do it, right? And so it's not going to feel good. I don't think it ever. I hope I almost never become comfortable.
That's
with it,
a warning
because then
signal.
I think that
Hang
has
on.
its own sort of dangers.
The fact that it doesn't feel good is a warning signal from your body that it is not something that you should be doing. If it doesn't feel good, you probably shouldn't be doing it. If you're miserable and you're pushing through the pain and you don't get so like when you work out in the gym, okay? When you work out in the gym, it may not feel good at the time, but you have that euphoria when you're done, or like runner's high, right? Like when you go and like run a 5K, it may not feel good at the time, but like when you get done, you're like, yeah, that was awesome. That's not true with anti-racist training. Anti-racist training just sucks. It sucks. It makes people miserable. It makes them shells of themselves. It just makes them sad. Oh God, I just saw an article on Twitter, how to be non-binary in 10 different languages. Oh my God. Anyway, if your body does not feel good when you are doing something, that is an indicator that you shouldn't be doing it.
But I do feel like, being conscious about it, finding folks that you can talk about, what you're doing and how you're feeling and how you're approaching situations is really important. And there are lots of folks on this campus who are committed to the same kind of work. And I think at the end of the day, this is cumulative, right? So you might find one or two colleagues, and then you're going to find that they know one or two colleagues. And then, the hope is that there's a tipping point when this is happening more than it's not. It's a little bit like, the bully on the playground, right? You think that they have a lot of power until everybody else decides we're going to go to this side of the playground and they don't get to play with us anymore. And then it gets singled out and the behavior gets extinguished because it's not accepted anymore. And so that's my hope for
this bitch,
the forward movement, and that at some point we look
so
around.
This bitch is basically telling us that she wants to peer pressure us all into seeing the world the way she does. Now listen, I don't mind if this woman wants to go be a crazy anti-racist woke SJW. I don't mind. That's her business. I don't have to deal with it. But the minute that she's trying to form a fucking cancel mob to pressure me into being a woke anti-racist SJW, no, sweetheart. No. Not acceptable.
And go, that sort of behavior and those systems are a relic of the past. I know we're not there, and I may never be around to see it, but I can hold that truth as something that I want to see.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Sheila. Tim.
Yeah, I think we really hammered in the point of
Oh
like
my God.
work on yourself, right? Like lifelong learning, all that. And I think all that's really important. And then I think the action step is where people get lost. Like they're not sure what to do with that information. And I just want to say that
Thank you,
like
Phil. Appreciate
marginalized
it.
folks from every intersection have already told you what they want to see happen and what needs to be done. And you just need to find that information. Like the Black Student Union has a whole list of demands for Tulane. Like, what can you
What?
do on that list? Like, what's within your power to meet those demands or to
Wait,
change?
the Black Student Union has made a list of demands, and we think that that's acceptable behavior for students to make demands? Let me just Google that real quick. Hang on. Black Student Union, Tulane University. Let's see what's what. All right. Now I want your list of demands. Oh, I'm getting an error because the connection isn't private. Oh. You can't even access it. I just want... Okay, demands. Oh, wait, hang on. Tulane Black Student Union releases list of demands and expectations. Really? We stand in solidarity with leaders from the Black Queer Collective, the National Society for Black Engineers, the Alliance of Black Business Students, and African American Women's Studies, who have all provided statements in our demands. What are the demands? The document, the publication begins by demanding reparations be made to Tulane's Black community members for the university's history of racism, along with the provision of more comprehensive education to Tulane's community members about the racist history of the school. So the Black Student Union is essentially demanding that Tulane teach all students that the school is inherently racist, which could get their federal funding pulled, but let's continue. The document continues with calls for community accountability, beginning with the expectation that Tulane community members, including Greek organizations who engage in racist, sexist, or otherwise bigoted language or activity, are thoroughly investigated and face consequences. Another facet of this, which the organization advocates for, is the training of students and faculty at Tulane through mandatory classes and community engagement advocate workshops. So, the training that we are watching right now, it is not an out of the world thing. That the only reason that this training even exists is because the Black Student Union demanded that the faculty receive anti-racist training. I'm a voodoo doll. Does that make me racist? Yes. Yes, it does, little Andy. Yes, it does.
Things. And who do you know who can change other things? You know, that's about that community piece. But every community that you're a part of, and that's Tulane, it's public health for me. There are people who have already said what needs to be changed, and you just have to access the information and really sit with where your power is in that.
Incredible. Thank you. Thank you all for that. It's really helpful, I think, from hearing from you all, especially being a part of that journey that you were all going through this past year with the Anti-Racism Leadership Program, but also knowing that you're doing your own external learning and you're continuing this, and you know that it's a lifelong journey. So it's just really incredible to hear you all talk about your experiences and, you know, giving advice for those who are looking to make those steps also. So that's really, really great to hear from you all. We do have a little bit of time for questions. If folks do want to add those to the Q&A section, that would be a great time for us to do that. But officially, this is the final panel for today. So I do want to say thank you so much to Dr. Osteen for co-moderating today. This has been an exceptional experience. Thank you to Sheila, Barry, and Tim for being here with us. Hopefully we'll have some questions, but I just want to say thank you to you three as well before we may wrap up. And I'm going to pass it over to Annalise to help us officially close.
All right. Wow. It feels like, how do you close this day? Thank you, Shelby.
How
Thank you, Laura.
indeed. How
Thank you, Tim, Barry,
indeed
and
do we
Sheila.
shut
I
this
hope
shit
you really
down?
felt the love in the chat box. I know we've had a few little things, hiccups with maybe our syllabus and the link to the bail. We will get that checked on yeah. We need the weekend off Monday. You'll be hearing from us Monday, maybe Monday afternoon. Self-care, wellness, restoration, that is a huge part of anti-racism work. I have to say it was a joy during this panel, and just, I cohort in so many ways, and you help shape how we'll do the work. And we also heard your call to increase the work on campus. As we're closing, I've been reading this book called America's Racial Karma, An Invitation to Heal. And I think y'all might know that I care about racial healing. And he quotes Baldwin in one of the chapters, and he says, Baldwin's saying, it's from The Fire Next Time. If you haven't read The Fire Next Time, tiny book, whew, powerful. I try to read it once a year to see how am I growing, what's standing out to me. So over the years, I can see which parts I'm underlining differently. But Baldwin says to accept one's past, one's history, it's not the same thing as drowning in it. It is learning how to use it. An invented past can never be used. It cracks and crumbles under the pressures of life, like clay in a season of drought. Wow, do we need some water? All of us, right? And so, as the eyes are going to start watering now, just thinking about everything you all have poured into us in this panel and just this day. I know that we're going to leave this space and we're going to be like, oh shit, well, what now? Or nothing's changing. Just remember, when you find yourself aghast and shock, like, how really that just happened? Let Baldwin teach us that shock and that surprise. Feel the fear, the anger, the sadness, but it's so predictable. It's so boring. It's so brutal. And your life is going to be the most important thing you can offer to the movement of racial justice, freedom, and liberation. And if there's anyone that's here for this work, I think we've had about 1,700 people across the day join different sessions. So I think we got the folks in place. And so let's not be tricked by white supremacy into powerlessness, hopelessness. There are times we're going to feel that.
Don't be tricked by white supremacy into powerlessness and hopelessness, guys. Don't be fooled.
This week.
Don't
Y'all know
give
what
in
I usually say
to the
for
white
Black,
devil.
Indigenous people of color. I
Don't
hope you
do
learned
it.
something today that helped you set more boundaries. That helped you trust yourself more. What you are experiencing, I believe you, we believe you. And for our white folks, especially our non-Black folks of color too, we got work.
Our non-Black folks of color. Folks, F-O-L-X, our non-Black folks of color.
To do, to really center that phrase BIPOC we use it here for a reason, because we're moving against systemic racism built on Indigenous colonization and genocide and anti-Blackness. So I don't want to say we got this, but abolition has always gotten it. And if we see ourselves as that next breath of the liberation movement, the Indigenous folks were resisting too, and that's our generational charge. As we, right before we close, I just want to say that we have our faculty and staff affinity groups coming up. You can find those at our Teach-In website. We've got, it's a 30-minute brief session. We wanted you to have a place to land in your affinity groups. And we know, as Ava was saying before, in LMAO, we need to keep finding the ways that we can cross those intersections, right? So I hope you have some time, some energy to join those groups. And if not, just we're wishing you a wonderful weekend. Thank you again to Jasmine Lamar. Can we give her some love in the chat box? And to Denise Crochet, let me pin her. Thank you for both of you. Phenomenal. I hope that, we continue to do our work intersectionally on accessibility, because wow, do we have some work to do. All right. Much love to this community. Thank you to everyone. Take good care.
All right, guys, that is our training for today. I gotta admit, it wasn't, maybe I'm getting desensitized. This was kind of like, jazz hands, everyone. Jazz hands. No, maybe I'm getting desensitized. It was kind of like meh. It's becoming more and more difficult to find really outlandish trainings. And I don't know if it's that these don't seem outlandish to me anymore because I have watched so many of them, or if I think desensitization is a huge problem. It's we can't effectively fight this if we're just okay, this is the same crazy shit they said in 2020 and 2018 and 2016 and but it is concerning to me that this is being re-upped over and over and over and over again. But guys, that's all we have for today. The weekend has begun. Sin reminds you to mount that like button, and of course, please make sure, hang on, where is it? Please make sure, if you appreciate the work I'm doing, please make sure you become a member of my Locals community. Locals is what keeps this and my primary channel running, and I really appreciate the support. Now is a great time to become a member in Locals because I got kicked off of my other YouTube channel for a week, and so YouTube is basically stealing a week of income from me, which really sucks. And so if you want to help me out, then becoming a Locals member is the very best way to do it. You can make a monthly gift to Locals of $5 or more. If you think I'm worth $10 a month, you can give me that too. You can do $50 or more for the year, which can give you a discount if you're just doing the $50, or you can make a one-time gift. All one-time gifts in Locals unlock all the features of Locals. So you get access to our 2 community Zoom calls that we do every week. We do them on Mondays and Wednesdays. We are not doing a Bitchcraft this weekend because we did one last weekend, but that's okay. We've got a book club coming up that I have to announce. So we aren't doing a Zoom this weekend, but we will be meeting on Monday at 7 p.m. But Graphically Alex and I will be doing Sassy Saturday tomorrow. We will be doing it on Alex's channel. So Alex, I DM'd you the info I need to hook your channel into StreamYard, and you can reply anytime you like, and we can get set up with that. But we are going to be doing Sassy Saturday on Graphically Alex's channel tomorrow, because I'm not giving that shit up. I love Sassy Saturday. It's so fun. So make sure you're subscribed to Alex's channel, and we will see you, around 9:30 tomorrow night. We're doing Allie Beth Stuckey. Alex has picked it out. Allie Beth Stuckey, talking about how inclusion is bad. So we're basically doing woke on the right. We did woke on the left today. Tomorrow on Alex's channel for a late night stream, we're doing woke on the right. It's going to be great because you can be woke regardless, whether left or right. It's not about left or right. It's about authoritarianism versus libertarianism. And I will get Alex to become a libertarian at some point. I swear. It's going to happen. But guys, also remember, you can pick up a copy of Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against woke insanity in your life. It is on sale right now on Amazon. Great time to pick it up, add it to your collection. You can also get the Kindle version or the Audible version, whatever's clever. And if you become an annual member in my Locals community, you can email me and get a custom autographed book plate that I will be sending out this weekend to every annual member in my Locals who has requested one. It's going to have your name on it. It's going to have a personalized message, and it's going to have my autograph, and you can slip it right into your copy of Actively Unwoke. And it basically is exactly like having your own awesome autograph copy. All right, guys, I'm going to go hang out with my husband and have some private time among adults. But I will see you tomorrow for Sassy Saturday. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And we will see you soon. Bye.